Hey, this is Matt Peterson, Vice President of Education at the Claremont Institute and founding editor of The American Mind. Today, I want to talk about how I'm banned from Facebook and ruminate about it a little bit. I wrote a little piece for the Substack describing this, talking about the experience, and I want to expand upon what I wrote a little bit at the American Mind Substack today. Here on the Pulse. Just if you've never had this happen to you, it's sort of interesting. There's no information given, right? One of the biggest complaints that people have is these large legacy social media companies will get rid of you and you have no idea why. As near as I can tell, in my case, the same day that the president was banned from Facebook, a number of people I imagine it happened to, besides the president and myself, I can still go on Facebook. You can still look at everything. You can see updates. You can see messages coming in on Messenger, but you're a ghost. Your soul has been separated from your body by the digital overlords, and so you can float around and see what people are doing, but you can't interact with them. You've been killed. You've been slain in some way, and so this is what Facebook does. It's not clear why. I didn't know that they had sentencing terms for various crimes, but apparently whatever I did causes a month-long ban. And February 5th, I'm allowed to come back, they tell me. And they say that there's multiple violations, right? I violated multiple times their guidelines. No idea what. I hadn't posted in a few days when this came down. So I can only imagine that what's going on there is after the events of January 6th, they decided to get serious about retconning or going back and finding anything that people had posted in regards to the election and then ban them accordingly. They do this. They do this a lot. Actually, they'll find something that all of a sudden is not politically correct anymore, or is deemed objectionable, and that you posted years ago. Even this has happened to Raheem Kassam, our friend and former Lincoln Fellow with the Claremont Institute. Raheem had this happen, I think, because he said men are men and women are women, and he had said it years ago, and they got rid of him for a while, or banned him, punished him because of this. This violation. So in any event, when you get this message, you see that you can't, not only do they not tell you what you did wrong, it's very Kafkaesque. It's like the Trial, a book I loved when I was younger. I mean, this man who's accused and you have no idea why or what, and he enters this labyrinthine process that never goes anywhere. In this case, you say, okay, well, I'll send them a note and ask them. And if you try to say anything to them in the box they provide and push the button, that doesn't work either. So essentially what you're doing here psychologically to your users is turning them into ghosts. You're just saying you're gone, you don't know why, but you were very, very naughty, and we're going to let you back. So they're hoping you learn from your behavior, but we're not going to tell you what you did wrong. And really, that's not the point. As I say in the piece I wrote for the Substack, re-education in at least the proximate sense, the near sense, isn't the point. Suppression is, right? The point is, during this time where it's fraught in American life and there's battles back and forth, they're going to get rid of everyone who was on the president's side, or a certain proportion of them, and just shut them down. And then apparently some of us will be allowed to come back later. So that's the picture that you have. And so you have these people who have been banned who are just kind of ghosts in the system, watching it go without being able to interact. It's a very interesting dynamic. Now, I have to say, as I said in the piece, for me, it was, I could care less. I need to get off Facebook anyway. And there's much worse things going on in the world. But it made me reflect a little bit on digital life. And I don't think it was all bad. I think that there's enormous problems with these social media companies. The internet needs to be completely redesigned. We need a new internet. We need a new way to interact with each other. There's an enormous problem with social media. But I'd like to talk a little bit about the plus sides. I mean, the plus sides were, I looked it up today. I joined in 2007. So I've been on Facebook for 13 years, which is a ridiculous amount of time. I'm sure that I've brought in tens of thousands of dollars to the company during that time as an active user with a lot of folks following and reading what I had to say. But 13 years is a while. And when I look back, I think what I enjoyed the most and what really draws people in of a certain kind is the fact that you were able to see and interact with all kinds of people outside your normal circles. And I learned a ton from that. It was like my own personal research lab, where you would see why people thought, what they thought, and you could experiment with rhetoric. I mean, this kind of phrasing makes this kind of person very uncomfortable, and this kind of phrasing works really well, and also have in the early days treat it like the old blogging days, which I was part of, where you'd have debates and disputes, find people of like mind, and learn things. I mean, I really part of it is because I was a nerd and a grad student and someone who was into writing online when I was young, foolish person that I am. And so I was very much attracted to that. And I do think I learned a lot and was able to gauge a lot about what was going on in various sectors of American society because you could see what different kinds of people were thinking, and you could detect trends before you'd see them in the media. And then, of course, you knew what people were reading, different groups of people were reading and talking about, because you could see they're all sharing or buzzing about this article or that article as opposed to others. And so this was, there's something really valuable about that I think a lot of people enjoyed. I mean, we complain about social media, right? But everyone's been on it. Everyone's been using it for many years now. And I would say that that in general, I regard that experience as positive. You also learn, if you master it, not to get angry, right? I mean, sure, everyone gets angry with online interactions, but if you really want to, God mode or go to God mode level in social media interactions, you can't. I mean, you should get off the platform if you're constantly mad all the time when you get on it. You can't let these people get you down. And so, I learned how to retain calm and really host discussion between various groups of people on my page, and deal with all the ensuing controversies that happen when so and so says this and that. It's on your page. So you really learned how to analyze contentious kind of human debates through engaging on social media. I really think that it's possible to gain something from social media in this way. Anyway, I have to say that there's a lot of positive experiences that I had on the Book of Faces, as we used to call it. Now, after our son Joseph died at 6 weeks old of SIDS, I think our lives changed in a very profound way. And I found myself appreciating another side of social media. And that started with the fact that so many people supported us through that tragedy. And I credit social media, in fact, with allowing that outpouring of support that helped us greatly during a time of personal tragedy. And after that, I also have to say I'm a little bit like the old lady, your grandma online, in the fact that I enjoy seeing pictures about people's kids. I enjoy being able to reach out to people when they go through some kind of tragedy, or someone dies and passes away. And at its best, there shouldn't be envy. There should be a kind of participation in each other's lives. And what's the difference between sending letters, right? Those form letters with pictures and whatnot to your friends and putting it online. I mean, not much. So it's a small way to stay in touch with people and keep tabs on them, and then you can have deeper conversations and relationships outside of that. So, I think that was positive as well. And overall, I think I actually had a decent experience with Facebook in many ways. And I paint this positive picture because, of course, I'm not going to use it anymore. I mean, I might keep Facebook when I get back from my jail for the sake of social interaction, or for the sake of reference, really, but not for the sake of much social interaction. And part of that's a life change, a focus change too. But I wasn't using it that much anymore anyway. But I say all of this to make the point that we're not going to deal with this problem. We're not going to win unless we really think a little bit more deeply about how technology could be used for the good and what the real problem is with it now. It's not just that TV is addicting. I mean, people are watching Netflix until they fall asleep every night. So it's not just that it's addicting and it's the new sexy thing, and so digital technology is bad. The problem actually is deeper than that, I think, or in a way more prosaic. What is the problem with social media? Well, first and foremost, you don't own your stuff, right? And that the medium is the message. The medium is completely controlled by a large third-party company. Now that's a problem. That's a problem because if you are going to have some kind of human interaction online, and there can be something positive along the lines of what I just described, the fact that you don't own it all is curious right away and ought to send up a red flag. And of course, the truth is you don't own it all because they're selling you. You're the product, and they're harvesting everything. You're giving them everything. And they're doing a lot with that, and now they're going to manipulate you in terms of what you can and can't see, and who can say, who can say what. So the reverse of that would not be to reverse this. You wouldn't get rid of social interaction online. That's never going to go away. You're always going to have a social network online to some degree. I mean, in some fashion. But what you want to do is make it so that each of us is in control of our own piece of the pie. So there's various alternative internets being built, imagined, companies trying to make this happen. And the idea would be to go back to the early days of the internet where you have a computer, you have stuff on your computer, and then you hook it up to a phone and you call up another computer at your friend's house, and you guys can chat like that, and you can share files and so forth. But you own all your files, right? It's a really strange thing when you think about it, right, what we've done. It was unthinkable 20, 30 years ago to say, I'm going to actually let a large corporation take all my private stuff and host it, and I'll hope they don't use it for anything bad or look at it, but there it is. They're going to have it all, and they're going to let me do this for free, so it's a pretty good deal for me. That includes all your personal pictures, right? I mean, all your personal communication. This really is kind of insane. It doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense for the consumer after you get through the initial, but it's free and I can immediately talk to people. That's great. Well, wait a minute. What's going on here? There's no reason why we can't have a very different kind of internet that allows us to control our information, our data, and also then would allow us to control our interactions with other people in a way that I think would be much, much healthier than we have now. So I guess, I mean, the answer to a lot of these problems that we face is it's not just going to be no tech, right? It's going to be the right kind of tech. And we certainly have enough experience in our own lives and just, data studies we could do as to what's happened in the last 15, 20 years. We have plenty of information to draw from, to learn from our mistakes. And I think what I'm pointing towards ultimately is you're not going to get rid of social interaction on the internet. Social media was never all bad. It was never something that was just completely terrible. And it's not actually at the real root of a lot of these problems. Now, it can be designed in better. We need tech that's designed to actually empower people, as they say, and that means allowing people to control their stuff and control their interaction with other people. There's a lot more to say about this, but I'm trying to, in as simplest language as possible, lay out the fact that new tech is required, not no tech, and not simply going after legacy corporations. If we can create a system in which people can control their own stuffs, and they have their own locker, right, their own server, and then they can interact with whoever they want, I mean, that gets rid of the need for all the bad things that we're dealing with right now. And this is a constant push and pull. You constantly, just like in politics, there's a push and a pull between centralization and decentralization. And I think it's very clear what we need now is decentralization. Now, in the midst of the madness that's going on, somehow I'm calm. I don't know. I didn't even take any meds today. But I feel very calm about the future. What's going to happen is going to happen. It's very bad what they're doing. It's very tyrannical, and it's going to get worse. But I will say this. Digital technology is not the kind of thing you can control like TV channels. And that's the fundamental mistake they're making. And that's what I'm getting at today. There are new kinds of technology that, guess what, people will want to use, because what we have now doesn't make any sense, but people still want to have social interaction and share things with each other online, and they always will. So have some hope and think more deeply about your interactions online and how you use these mediums. And do a little research, and we're going to help you soon think about what the alternatives are. And be realistic, right? Be realistic, because you need to think hard about what is actually good about how you interact on the internet. Yes, a lot of it's bad, but you can't just say it's all bad. You have to draw out what's good and then try to figure out what's the best way to pursue that moving forward. In any event, I'm Matt Peterson. I'm banned from Facebook, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and one more thing. For all of you out there who've been following me on Facebook, all my critics, I know who you are. I just want you all to know I'm watching all of you. Watching everything. I still see what you're saying and who's been good and who's been bad. I'm just like Facebook. Just a ghost in the machine. Still there. And when I get back, I'm not going to do anything. And I'll probably stop my activity. But I just wanted all of you to know that I appreciate the support on the part of some of you, and I don't appreciate the lack of support from others. In any event, bless you all. Take care.